Hey everyone, this is Laura from Something Witchy. Skye and I wanted to take a quick break from talking about Sabrina to talk about something super important, voting.
That's right. It might seem like elections are just about the presidential race every 4 years, but your local and state elections are just as important, if not more so.
Absolutely. I actually got to participate in the caucus system in my state, and it was really eye-opening. I never realized how much a small portion of the population was deciding who ends up on the ballot.
It's a great reminder that our voices matter, even at the local level. Every vote really counts, whether it's city council, school board, or even ballot measures that impact your daily life.
Exactly. Voting isn't just about the big national elections. Local elections are where a lot of the decisions that affect your community are made. Plus, the people you vote for at the local level often go on to influence things at the state and national level too.
So, if you're listening and you're not registered to vote yet, what are you waiting for? It's super easy to register. There are so many resources online like vote.org that can help you get set up.
And if you're already registered, yay! Now make sure you actually vote when the time comes. Whether it's early voting, absentee, or showing up at the polls on election day, your vote matters. We can't let a small group of people decide everything for us.
And don't forget, local elections and primaries happen more often than you think, so check your local election dates and make a plan to vote. Your voice really does make a difference.
Seriously, guys, democracy works best when everyone participates. Don't sit on the sidelines, get out there and make your voice heard.
And after you vote, come back and listen to us talk about Sabrina again. But first, vote. It's one of the most magical things you can do.
Thanks for listening, witches. Go make a change in your community and your country. Now, back to the magic. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Something Witchy. I am Laura Cotter.
And I'm Skye Orchard.
And we are so glad you've made it to episode 3 and that we've made it to episode 3.
Golf claps for us all.
Jazz hands. Okay, Skye, are you ready for your question for this week?
Let's do it.
Did you ever babysit when you were growing up, when you were a teenager?
Not for money. I am an oldest child, so I sure did babysit.
Were you a good babysitter?
I think so. My brothers probably would disagree. The middle brother has a trauma story he likes to pull out every family gathering, and I think it's time he just gets over it.
Ooh, can you share that story, or is it a secret?
Oh, maybe one day. We'll leave it a mystery for now. He is more dramatic about what went down than what actually went down. And I maintain if he had just listened and followed the rules, none of it would have happened.
I have probably a story from the perspective of your little brother, because I was the younger sibling. My sister didn't have to babysit me a ton, but she did every now and again. And I have this one vivid memory of her. This is probably like 92, maybe 93. We had a family computer and we had very educational computer games on it. When I was that little, I had a computer game called Dino Flashcards, which were math flashcards. And during the summer, I had to do them for a certain amount of time every day to keep up on my math skills. And my sister, because she was so much older than me, her computer game was called Algeblaster. And you had to solve algebra problems to blast asteroids and save your little spaceship.
I think I played Algeblaster, and I sort of miss it if it's the game I'm thinking of. That was bomb.
When I got older, I realized that it was a slightly stressful game because there's like countdown timers and things flying at you and you had to do math really quickly. I was little and I didn't know. And so I remember my parents are gone and I go downstairs to tell Lisa that I need to do my Dino flashcards because it's time for me to go to bed and I hadn't done them yet. And she's in the middle of doing Algeblaster. And if there's something I know as an adult, it's you do not talk to my sister while she's doing math. And so I kept bugging her and I'm like, Lisa, I need to do my Dino flashcards. And she finally turns around and gets so mad and she smacks me on the arm. And then like my parents come home like right after that happens. So I run up and tell on her. To this day, I still bring it up and she loves that I bring it up.
You and Ellen are just like each other. Okay, I'll tell the story for the sake of content for this episode because are we going into an episode? This is the story of Dallin and his Chicken Little poster.
Wait. The Chicken Little Disney movie Chicken Little?
Yes, the Pixar Disney Chicken Little.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
So Dallin and I fought like cats and dogs growing up. One day I was babysitting him, and I would like to say that Tanner, the one right underneath me, probably helped. But Dallin liked to wander out of his room at night and sort of sleepwalk, so he had a lock on his door that faced outwards to sort of lock him in the room as needed.
That seems safe and not against fire code.
Yeah. That's at least what I remember as to why This lock was on the outside of the door.
Okay.
He was acting up and just, annoying little kid brother. I'm getting a text from Jill right now saying Dallin might murder me for telling the story, but he tells it to everyone, so it's my turn.
Is Dallin going to be a good brother and listen to this, or is he still mad at you over the poster, though?
Well, we'll see. There's a part 2 that's about to go down this next weekend. So he's acting up. It's like, okay, go to your room, time out, whatnot. And Tanner and I decide to lock him in the room because siblings.
Mm-hmm.
It grows character. Apparently, Dallin really needs to use the bathroom.
Oh, no.
And Tanner and I were ignoring him or something like that. And so he, as he tells it, out of desperation, grabbed his Chicken Little poster, paper Chicken Little poster, and peed on it, and then stuffed it under his bed. And then later, cleaning his room or helping clean his room months later, my mom found this pee-soaked poster, and it was all my fault. He had to ruin his Chicken Little poster.
I have so many questions. Did he not have like a trash can in his room?
That's actually a great question. He definitely had a trash can in his room. There were better options. He chose to destroy his Chicken Little poster.
He laid it down like newspaper like you do for like a house training puppy.
Can only assume that's how. I was not present in the room. I'm sure Tanner and I had walked away.
Can I ask how old he was when this went down? Does that make the story worse?
He was probably 5 or 6. I don't know.
Okay. Logic is not a strong suit at that age.
I wasn't locking like a 2 or 3-year-old in the room.
But like, he wasn't like 8.
I don't think so, because then I would have been 16. I don't think I would have done that at 16. Who knows? His birthday is on April Fool's, which is coming up at the time of us recording this. Mm-hmm. So to sort of bury this and let bygones be bygones, I have gotten him a storybook of Chicken Little, the actual Chicken Little tale, not the Disney one. Mm-hmm. And then off Amazon, I have ordered a tin poster of the movie. I'm going to write a little note that says, even in an emergency, at least this one won't get ruined. And he will finally have his Chicken Little poster 2.0. That's how I was as a babysitter, apparently.
Okay.
Better or worse than Sabrina? Who knows?
Give me a second. We'll get into that.
Dun, dun, dun. Hopefully we haven't lost the audience by now.
I mean, I think this is better than anything we're going to do from here on out. So everybody, if you want to tune out after this, go for it.
100%.
This episode is titled The True Adventures of Rudy Kazootie. Our description for this episode is big trouble comes in a small package when Sabrina takes a babysitting job. It originally aired October 11th, 1996, directed by Gail Mancuso, who directed a bunch of Modern Family and Roseanne episodes as well. Writers are Nell Scoville, Jonathan Schmock, and Renee Phillips. Guest stars. We are back to some big guest stars in this episode. So we have Randy Travis as himself, who is a country gospel singer-songwriter. Eddie Cibrian also as himself. During this time period in 1996, he would be mostly known for The Young and the Restless, but then later went on to do Sunset Beach, Third Watch, and CSI Miami, among many others. Frank Conniff plays Big Rudy. He is mostly known for being a writer for Mystery Science 3000, which seems interesting. It's not what I was expecting when I clicked on his IMDb page. Beth Kennedy is Carol, also known from Race to Witch Mountain, Valentine's Day, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Jim Hanks is Jerry. He's known for being the brother of Tom Hanks, but also the voice of Woody for everything that Tom Hanks doesn't want to or is too busy to do. So all the video games, some shorts. Also, did you know that there is a Lego The Incredibles video game?
I did know that. That is one of the few Lego video games I have not played yet, but I did know it exists.
That seems very specific genre-wise to me. We should find out what platform it's on and we should play it together.
Oh, 100%. It's normally very cheap and on sales for like PlayStation, so I'll grab it next time it's on sale.
Fantastic. Then we have Jeff Witcher, or at least his voice, as the sportscaster. Diana Theodore as girl number 1, who has a few other credits around this time, including from Full House, Seinfeld, ER, and Ellen. All right, Skye. Time for overall thoughts and ratings on this episode. I already prefaced mine last episode, so we know I'm not going to be a fan. Did I set it up to be bad for you, or did you go in with an open mind?
I feel like I went in with an open mind. I was still hoping that was going to be some sort of Western adventure with the name of Rudy Kazootie. I wish it were a Western adventure. Nightmare materials there, so you were not wrong. It was an episode.
I was trying to think while I was watching it why I don't like it that much. And it really took me a long time to figure out why. And it's mostly because I just don't think it's funny. There wasn't really anything I laughed at. I just felt uncomfortable during a lot of it. It's one that I remember very well because it is one of the early ones, and it's one that they play a bunch of reruns and stuff like that, but it just doesn't hit the mark for me. Again, it also felt very quiet as far as audience laughter goes. I'm waiting for that to be fixed. It may go out throughout the rest of the season, and maybe by season 2 we'll hear like the actual good laughing of a real live audience.
Genuine laughter.
All right, let's get into the play-by-play, shall we?
Let's do it.
In our cold open, the ants are working on a puzzle in the kitchen.
I think we have another clue to the ant's age right there, right?
Oh, did we? Did I miss that one?
Yeah, so Hilda says, when you live 1,000 years, jigsaw puzzles don't seem like such a waste of time.
Oh, you're right. They did.
Which we had 500 years previously, right?
600.
So we have now jumped potentially a lot farther, or they can only live till 1,000 and then they die.
Or is Hilda just rounding up from 600 to 1,000? Because 1,000 is easier to say than 600.
Maybe.
A few different possibilities here.
Let us know which of these 3 options you think it is.
Are they doomed to die at 1,000, rounding up, or do the writers get it wrong and misstate their ages? Anyone is a possibility. They're all equally likely.
Maybe they're as old as time, and so they literally are part of Looneyville and just don't remember their age anymore.
I have a hard time remembering how old I am, and I haven't even hit 40 yet.
Oh, same. Shout out to my friend Alex, who lets me know how old we are when I randomly text her asking, how old are we again? Because it's hard.
After 35, all the numbers are the same until you hit 40. It's all the same.
I haven't even hit 35 yet, and I'm struggling, so
it gets worse.
Great. Can't wait.
35 to 40, just pick a number and guess. It's fine. Also, did you have a little bit of PTSD response when you saw a puzzle post-COVID? Because I and my family did so many puzzles during COVID.
I did so many puzzles. I have been given puzzles from people's COVID addictions that I have an entire bookcase that goes to my ceiling. So it's about a 10-foot high ceiling that I have in my living room. Just completely of puzzles, and it spills over. I am still crazy though, and I still do puzzles frequently. And I was actually judging the ants' piece per minute ratio because Sabrina says they've been sitting there all day and they have only gotten the edge done and very little of the actual puzzle. And it looks like it's maybe 1,000 pieces, and I think they can do better, especially if they've been puzzling for at least 600 years. I am a puzzle snob.
They aren't doing it like the way normal people do. Like, they're describing the shape that they need and then asking for it, which I think contributes to the slow amount of time. But anyway, we haven't even gotten past the first line yet, and we're already on a tangent.
We're doing great.
Because we want to talk about anything except for this episode.
Yep.
All right, so as you said, Sabrina comes in and notes that they haven't moved all day, then admits that she made Libby drop her lunch tray for the 3rd day in a row, which we also don't see Libby or Jenny at all in this episode, which may be why I don't like it. Maybe I like the Libby stuff. Sabrina sees that they're all out of ice cream, but Hilda reminds her that they're witches and zaps her a freezer full of ice cream. But Zelda is a buzzkill and zap freezer closed, so they won't eat sweets before dinner.
We also get another Hindenburg call out. You can spell Hindenburg or Hindenburg Strikes Again or something like that. They really like Hindenburg.
All right, so our outfit intro ends with Sabrina in a chicken costume saying, I've got to get better at this magic. Agreed, she does. Sabrina is in her bedroom looking for a spell for rollerblades. Salem is uninterested, but tells her to look under sporting goods. Sabrina discovers a spell to influence games, but Salem tells her to only use it if he can get in touch with his bookie first. Sabrina finds the spell for inline skates that requires an old shoebox and a gift from a quick-footed animal, for which she pulls fur off Salem. She makes roller blahs, though, instead. Hilda comes up and explains you can't get name brand goods due to copyright laws. Witches overdid the Gucci in the 70s, but Hong Kong witches can still get you decent knockoffs. Hilda tells Sabrina to get a job if she wants better stuff. Did you ever get into rollerblading? I remember when rollerblading was huge in the 90s.
We had a rollerblading rink for like parties and stuff, school field trips and whatnot. But outside of that, not so much. The kid featured on the back of the box wearing a sling was very much me growing up.
It's still pretty much you.
Well, yes. That is true. I've had a sling for 2 years, so call that a win.
At school, Sabrina is looking at the bulletin board for jobs. She passes on babysitting for triplets that has apparently been up there for years. So how old are those kids now? You may be babysitting for triplet 12-year-olds. She reaches for a job watching TV, but another girl snags it first and tells her she has to be more aggressive in this job market. Sabrina manages to grab a babysitting job for one kid before another girl. She calls the mom on the payphone at the school, and we can see the mom looking harried as she tries to clean up while her child runs around. The mom tries to keep Sabrina on the line because she craves adult conversation, but Sabrina just tells her to watch MTV News and hangs up to go to class. As a child who did not have cable, because of my older sister who watched MTV way too much as a 4-year-old, I looked up what MTV News was, and it just shut down in May of 2023. So apparently it's been around for a long time. It started in the late 80s, and then they started covering presidential elections in 1992 with its Choose or Lose campaign, which I think is something we need to bring back.
Can you just imagine our current presidential candidates competing in something like that? The quotes we would get is all I will say.
In 2008, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton actually went on MTV News to discuss the Iraq War, which seems pretty hard-hitting for MTV News.
That's a choice.
So in Mr. Poole's class, he's teaching them about mitosis when Sabrina walks in late. We hear mitosis is, and then we fade to finish up with zygote. Mr. Poole says he's moving the test up tomorrow, but Harvey objects because tonight is Game 4 of the World Series. Mr. Poole tells him to suck it up since he has to deal with parents' night tonight and will also be missing the game, and admits that vindictiveness gets him through the day. Harvey catches up with Sabrina and asks her if she wants to study tonight, but Sabrina is babysitting. So Sabrina just assumes it's going to be cool for Harvey to come along so they can find out what mitosis is together.
Let us know. Harvey says his hand cramped after 2 words of the lecture. Mitosis is. Good job, Harvey. And I looked up who was playing in the World Series in 1996, and it was the New York Yankees and the Atlanta Braves. Game 4 was a Yankees win. Spoiler alert, Harvey. This will actually be the first World Series the Yankees win since 1978.
Wow.
In the real world. Obviously, Game 4 is a little probably different in this episode than the real world.
You mean there probably wasn't a grand slam and some errant home runs?
15 innings, yeah. Probably not.
Back home, Zelda is wearing an amazing periwinkle suit. This is like one of the only times I mention outfits, even though I really wanted to, because there wasn't much else to talk about in this episode. And yelling for Hilda to hurry up. Salem is sad he can't go to parents' night for some reason. But Zelda points out that there are already 2 sisters living together in a Victorian house, and showing up with Salem will cross the line into Looneyville. Hilda comes down in her canary yellow suit jacket, complaining that her stomach hurts and she can't go to school. Zelda tells her to grow up and not to try making it snow. Immediately, Sabrina enters and says that it just started snowing. Hilda reluctantly stops the snow and says no one was hurt, but then we hear a car skidding off screen. Zelda notes that Sabrina is awfully dressed up for a babysitting job. Sabrina admits that Harvey is coming over for a study date. Cue a bunch of oh and uh-huh and mm-hmm from everyone, including the cat.
Salem's mm-hmm is definitely the best there. Also, I sort of get Salem's wanting to go. Were you the kid who, after parent-teacher conferences, wanted to know everything that was said? You didn't, drill your parents to be like, but what did they say?
I can't think of a time I wasn't with my parents. Maybe in elementary school, but definitely in junior high and high school, I was with them when they were talking to my teachers.
Interesting. Yeah. Students didn't go with their parents for parents' nights. So I wanted to know all the hot tea being said about me. And I can imagine our man Salem is the exact same, wants all the hot gossip in the moment, doesn't want to have to wait until post-parents night.
Would you be that bored being a cat that you'd want to go hear about some high schoolers flunking their biology course?
Probably. He's a cat. He doesn't got much going on besides calling his bookie and playing with some yarn.
We're in a new set at the babysitting client's house where the mom is showing Sabrina around. The dad shows up, hurrying the mom to go out on their date. Mom tells her to try reading Goodnight Moon if the baby gets fussy.
Goodnight Moon is a classic, around since 1947. My parents still definitely have a copy.
I was never read that book as a child.
It's never too late to read it.
I think Miriam has a copy, so I'll make sure to read it with her.
Mark it on your Goodreads as a book completed for the year.
Oh, 100%. I'm super behind on that. She also tells Sabrina to call him Rudy Kazootie, or more formally, Mr. Kazootie. She shakes a bag of cookies, and the dad looks like he's ready to die. The mom starts walking out of the house with the baby before bringing him back, and then they're finally off. Harvey shows up and says Sabrina should have just told him to look for the house with the flying duck on the mailbox. How long are we doing this mailbox shtick with Harvey? Because it's not something I remembered. We're making Harvey the Rain Man of mailboxes. Sabrina points out that he really notices mailboxes. The baby is asleep and it's just the two of them. They sit on opposite ends of the couch to study, but scoot closer because Harvey has terrible notes.
Terrible notes because he wrote 2 words. Does that count as notes?
I wanted to go through and then I gave up because I couldn't watch this episode one more time. I wanted to count how many times they say mitosis is. People, if you're listening to this and then you go watch it and you know how many times they say mitosis is, let us know.
Honestly, if I were to rewatch this episode, it would have to be a drinking game.
Okay, so if you're going to go watch this episode after you've listened to this, please bring along a drink of some sort, preferably one that will make you forget you've watched this episode.
Or if you need to hydrate, you can always do water. This will get you hydrated.
It really will. Yes, that's true. Prevent those kidney stones. Mitosis is, we still don't know because Harvey is hungry. Sabrina raids the fridge and comes back with Snickers, M&Ms, Butterthumb, Popsies, and hey over here instead of a Yoo-hoo, which I had to look up if Yoo-hoo still exists because I have not heard a reference or seen it in so long, and it does. It's mostly water and corn syrup.
I did not get the Yoo-hoo reference. I was like, what the crap is hey over here? There's also Diet Popsy making an appearance later in the episode.
Yep, Diet Popsy and Popsies. I was eating some M&Ms while I watched this. I feel like I should have gotten a Yoo-hoo, though, to really round it out.
Nothing like water and sugar to round out your day.
I mean, I was drinking a Diet Coke, which is basically the same thing. Also, how often do you hear, like, Pepsi products referenced in a show? It's almost always Coke products.
That's true.
They try studying again. Mitosis is, and the baby starts crying. Harvey uses this chance to turn on the game while Sabrina runs upstairs. Sabrina goes into the baby's room to try settling him down and reads 2 pages of Goodnight Moon. She says, that's better, while he's still crying, and puts him back in the crib. Sabrina is a terrible babysitter. She starts telling the baby all about how much she likes Harvey, then heads back downstairs, leaving the kid alone with a book he can't read. We learn that Harvey wants to be a dentist, and he says that Sabrina has really good teeth. They awkwardly smile at each other until the baby starts crying again. Harvey turns the World Series back on. Sabrina grabs the baby and tries to comfort him while saying, be a big boy a few times. She puts him back in his crib after he quiets. He drinks his bottle, and we see and hear magic sparkles. Sabrina goes back downstairs, and they start with mitosis is again when we hear a big thump upstairs. Harvey turns the game back on, and Sabrina walks in the baby's room to find that Rudy is a full-grown man now. He replies, Baba.
Please note that there is a fade to commercial break where you hear Sabrina say, Mr. Kazootie, and then there is the most truly terrifying baby cackle demon-possessed laugh to go into a commercial break or temporary pause if you're watching on modern-day streaming with no commercials.
Sabrina is pacing back and forth, panicking, and tries to reverse what happened with a presto changeo, go back to normal, which is just the worst spell we've heard Sabrina try to cast. Rudy just keeps saying Baba until Sabrina gives him the bottle. He offers Sabrina his banky, but she insists he keep it on until he can get dressed. Sabrina's babysitting skills. They are still even worse than her magic casting skills.
Has she interacted with a small child ever in her life?
I definitely think not, because, I mean, where would she? The aunts definitely don't have any kids around. She is an only child.
Salem doesn't count. Also,
a baby is a really hard child to start with as your first babysitting gig. Start with, like, a 4-year-old.
Start with, like, an 8-year-old.
I mean, at least you want something that can communicate with you in something resembling a full sentence.
True.
Yeah, she just leaves him alone. She just checks out. If I tried to babysit my niece like this, my sister would never let me watch her ever again. Also, that crib would no longer pass today's parenting standards. That crib was a Sid's nightmare waiting to happen with the amount of stuff that was in there. And then Sabrina just throws a book in there after reading 2 sentences and says, best of luck, baby, go to sleep, which is definitely how you get children to go to sleep.
Especially 18 months old.
She's so bad at this. Harvey's coming upstairs just as Sabrina comes down to offer his help, but she tells him to go back to the game. Harvey says it's basically over until Sabrina uses her newfound sports spell to cause a home run and the game to go longer. Sabrina has managed to dress Rudy in the nursery, which let's not talk about how that happened, when his parents start calling. These parents clearly have issues, and the dad is just done with his life. Sabrina assures them that Rudy is fine. The dad says that their dinner is moving really fast, but Sabrina tries to convince them to take their time. The mom apologizes for how paranoid she is, but after the dad almost went off the road in that freak snowstorm, she just has a weird feeling. Sabrina tells Harvey she's going to go walk the baby. At this hour, it's very dark outside. Harvey doesn't question it. No one cares.
There's sports on. Must watch sports.
She tells Harvey to just keep watching the game, but the game is almost over again. Sabrina uses magic to cause a grand slam to keep the game going and sneaks out with Rudy. There's magic in the air tonight, the sportscaster says. What is a grand slam?
Isn't it where the ball goes over the fence, and so basically it's an automatic home run for anyone who's on base? I could be terribly wrong.
According to MLB.com, a grand slam occurs when a batter hits a home run with men on first, second, and third bases to score 4 runs, the most possible on one play.
So I was sort of right. The ball going over the fence was probably incorrect, but the points, it would definitely help. Just was getting to the points.
I know stuff about some sports. Baseball is not one sport that I've ever been interested in. In Mr. Pool's class, the ants are sitting at a lab counter. Zelda says Mr. Pool is cute, and Hilda tells her to get out more. Mr. Pool interrupts their whispering task if they'd like to share anything with the class. Hilda asks to go to the nurse, but Zelda says she's fine and clarifies that they're both Miss Bellman, but not an alternative couple.
So I had never heard the phrase alternative couple in reference to like a lesbian or gay relationship there. And so I tried to go into a Google deep dive of the history of that vernacular and if it was an actual like phrase or if that's just how this TV show and the writers decide to portray it. Could not find really anything. Google's image search for alternative couple just showed grunge and emo pairings of people together.
That sounds fun.
So alternative music scene is what images wanted to pull up. And then all the articles were that modern day vernacular alternative couple typically refers to non-monogamous relationships.
But non-monogamous relationships are probably to the 20s what gay relationships were to the 90s.
Probably.
Mr. Pool then hits on Zelda, and like us all, Hilda feels like she's going to throw up. Sabrina gets Rudy back to her house and finds Salem playing with a ball of yarn on the dining room table. Sabrina rudely takes him away from his yarn to show him Rudy, who is not a guy she picked up at the bus station, but actually the baby she's babysitting for. Sabrina asks for help in turning him back, but Salem says he can't help and that she needs the ants. Salem reluctantly agrees to watch Rudy until Rudy grabs Salem, saying, "Ride horsey," and Salem books it out of there.
Smart cat.
Another story of me and my sister that I do not let her forget. When I was probably a toddler, like maybe 2 or 3, one of my earliest memories is of her trying to make me ride our parents' giant gray cat Whiskers. It did not work. He did not approve. He also ran away.
Good job, Whiskers.
Back at school, all the other parents have cleared out of Mr. Pool's class except for Hilda and Zelda. Mr. Pool is still hitting on Zelda. They exchange email addresses of BioStud and ChemKitten. They realize they've talked before on a chat room about polyvinyl chloride.
PVC plastics for those who aren't chemists. Google searching, I was like, oh my gosh, it's just PVC pipe. Okay.
Hilda magically writes loser on the chalkboard behind him, I think using the same movie magic that they use in Matilda. Looks very similar. Also, in the background, there is a huge container of organic solvent, and I just want to know why, because I didn't see anything like that until I was working in a research lab in college. I don't know why children need access to 5 liters of organic solvents, but okay. Sabrina pops in with Rudy, and Mr. Pool assumes that's her father. Rudy starts playing on the model of the solar system, and Mr. Pool tries to address him as Mr. Spellman, but Sabrina corrects him to Mr. Kazootie. She explains it's Scottish, and Mr. Pool puts on a terrible Scottish accent, but Sabrina's saved because he needs to go work the bake sale. Hilda says she thought Sabrina was supposed to be babysitting. Sabrina says that she is and points to Rudy. Rudy calls Hilda a funny clown. Sabrina asks for help, and Zelda asks what spell she cast. Sabrina continues to freak out because she's supposed to be studying with Harvey to more uhs and uh-huh. Sabrina tells them to cut it out, and Zelda asks exactly what she did. Sabrina recaps what she did, but Zelda asks if there's anything else. Rudy chimes in with, "Be a big boy." Zelda deduces that Sabrina probably said it 3 times and accidentally cast a passion spell. Hilda explains that a passion spell is when you want something bad enough and say it 3 times, it might just happen. Which is nice that it doesn't always happen, because I feel like that would be grossly overused.
Once again, maybe warn your teenager learning magic that, hey, sometimes if you say things 3 times, shit's gonna go down.
But I also think we're realizing that there are a lot of ways that magic can go wrong, and it would take a very long time to warn your teenager about all the ways magic can go wrong.
Yes, but I think there could be some rules. Oldest child coming out here saying, where is the structure?
I think Hilda and Zelda are caretakers of Sabrina in the same way Sabrina's a caretaker of the child she's babysitting. This is where she learned it from. Zelda demonstrates with Randy Travis, and Randy Travis appears and asks if they need something because his wife wonders where he keeps going. He leaves the classroom saying they'll know where to find him because they always do. Which, how does he get back home every time? Why does he not question this? Why doesn't he not have a restraining order against these women if this happens frequently? Randy Travis is very accepting of this weird circumstance in his life.
I did not know who Randy Travis was. I had to look him up, and then I admittedly saw he was country and said, okay, and did not listen to any of his songs. I
tried to glance through his biggest hits to see if I recognized any, and I was like, no. And I'm like, I'm not going to bother listening through these because I just want to get this thing over with. The aunts start fawning over Randy Travis, but Sabrina asks them to focus on her again. Zelda tells her to do exactly what she did before, but in reverse. Sabrina tries that while rubbing Rudy's back, but nothing happens. Zelda explains that it takes time to take effect. While they're talking, Rudy crawls out of the classroom, and Sabrina and the aunts then chase after him once they notice that he's gone. Randy Travis is in the cafeteria buying a nut-filled brownie for Mr. Poole. Rudy comes in and exclaims, "Tookies!" Then starts eating stuff from the bake sale table. Mr. Poole gives him a very stern Mr. Kazootie, just as Sabrina and the aunts run in. Sabrina points out that he can see why she changed her name.
I don't think there were any cookies on that bake sale table, which I can only assume is what Rudy means by tookies.
Unless it's a catch-all for desserty type brownie, cookie, cupcake.
A surprising lack of bundt cakes on that table, despite knowing there is a huge popularity for bundt cakes in this school, and it brings world peace.
They're on the other side of the cafeteria.
Mm.
Back at the babysitting home, Harvey is still in front of the TV watching the baseball game and eating a Snickers. Sabrina sneaks Rudy back upstairs and coaches him on what to do when his parents get home, which is just shrug. He asks Sabrina to read to him, but she just tells him to play with his toes and goes back downstairs. Sabrina hates this kid, I think.
I mean, this kid has turned from a nuisance in her mind to a creepy, cackling adult baby. So
because of her.
Yes, but still creepy. He's giggling some more in this scene, I feel like. The giggling needs to stop.
Kudos to the actor for getting that across and playing a convincingly 18-month-old child in a man's body. Sabrina grabs a Popsy and asks if the game is still on. Harvey said it could go on forever, but Sabrina ends it right there with her magic. That spell she can do well. They try studying again. Mitosis is, but Sabrina's wiped out, so they decide to just talk and have some awkward so's when the parents walk back in, which I understand why Sabrina is startled when they walk in, because she knows in her mind that they were getting kind of cuddly, but Harvey also freaks out, which means he was also on that same wavelength.
Blooming romance? Who knows?
The parents don't bat an eye at the two awkward teenagers on their couch, and the dad offers to pay Sabrina $4 an hour, but she says it's supposed to be $5, but we'll take $4, which is more than I charged when I babysat, and I was a better babysitter than this.
So Sabrina's netting $12 total, maybe?
Yeah.
Did she have to pay for any of the cookies taken at the bake sale? Has she lost money? What is the actual gross versus net?
Or did the aunts pony up and cover her?
Or they just left Mr. Poole in a bind?
That's honestly my guess, is that Zelda flirted with him and talked their way out of it. The mom calls from upstairs for the dad to come see something. Sabrina makes a quick exit, but both parents are upstairs watching their son sleeping in the crib as a full-grown man and just say they grow up so quickly. The mom asks about having another, and the dad shuts that down really fast. Rudy drinks from his bottle and returns to his normal size. Randy Travis is in the kitchen with the aunts working on the jigsaw puzzle. He spent a lot of time on the bus doing this, which is why he's so good at it. He asks if he can go, but they decide to keep him hostage still. Sabrina is still trying to figure out what mitosis is in her room when Salem asks if she wants to play Risk instead.
My favorite Salem moment of the episode, because as we know, Risk is the game of world domination. He's still got it.
Do you think she hates playing against him because he's too good at it?
Definitely.
That's why I don't play against my dad.
I love Risk. Clearly, Bill and I need to play Risk together at some point.
Granted, this is like back when I was a teenager that I stopped playing it because I didn't like it and I wasn't good at it. We should have a Sabrina party one day, though, where like we have a bundt cake, we play Risk, we have some yoo-hoos.
Do it.
We'll have an end of season 1 party. Sabrina sends Salem out of the room by saying she thinks she can hear the can opener. Sabrina summons Eddie Cibrian, who appears in the hot guy 90s uniform of jeans and a white t-shirt. Sabrina asks him to turn around and then tells him he can go down to do a jigsaw puzzle with her aunts and Randy Travis. And when he's doing his turn, she definitely looks straight into the camera with a full look of excitement on her face. She then tries to summon Brad Pitt and we fade to black, which is the second Brad Pitt reference in 3 episodes. Same with mailboxes. In the end tag, Mr. Poole is giving the test. Harvey is stuck on mitosis is, and Mr. Poole asks him if he saw the game. Harvey says it was freaky, but freaky was Randy Travis coming to parents' night. Then Mr. Poole asks if Harvey has met Sabrina's dad. He's pretty freaky too. Mitosis is.
For the record, mitosis is the part of the cell cycle where you have 2 new chromosomes and they split into separate nuclei, eventually become new cells.
I'm also pretty sure mitosis is comes back at some point.
Oh dear. Warn me so I can pull out some whiskey before that episode.
It's that or it's some other very similar line. I'm pretty sure it's mitosis is. We'll find out when we get there.
Well, we did it. We got through Rudy Kazootie.
There were no cowboys in this episode. There was nothing Western in this episode.
Darn tootin'. What's the title of next week? Are we getting anything a little bit?
Are we done? We're still continuing this series. We're not done after this episode. If you too are craving more of Sabrina, join us next time for season 1, episode 4, Terrible Things, which if memory serves me is a better episode. At least I don't remember it as being as horrible as this one. So
my hypothesis, having not watched it, and I know I will not watch it until the day we record, because that is how I'm rolling. Sabrina's gonna cast some magic, and it's going to go terribly.
Did you get that off of ChatGPT?
No. Unless ChatGPT is my brain right now, that came straight from my brain. I'm doing great.
You might be right on that one.
I think I could bet some money on that one right there.
I think you could. If you counted how many mitosis is in this episode, you can email us at somethingwitchypod@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at somethingwitchypod. Until next time,
stay meowgical.